Folks, we've been getting some wins lately. I'm talking about several wins for Trump, some exposure of the Fani Willis situation. As a matter of fact, right now as we speak, Fani Willis's case is getting final arguments on the disqualification of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade in this Trump and 18 other defendant case. Can't wait to see how this all plays out. I don't know exactly when the judge will make a ruling on this, but it does look like final arguments are happening this afternoon, today as we speak, like I said. But before I get into that and some other good news that has happened for Trump, including the Supreme Court willing to hear Trump's immunity case. That is good news, and the left is having a fit about it. I'm talking about super meltdowns on several stations. I may bring you a short compilation later on of just several of the MSNBC, CNN types going, Trump may not go to jail. But at any rate, folks, I have got some interesting news from Arizona. The governor of Arizona, Mr. Ducey, a little while back had tried to put in a provision in the Arizona laws to make sure that they could shore up the election to prevent illegals from being able to vote in their elections there. Well, it has been haggled back and forth because the left-wing NGO lawyers immediately, including some of the Department of Justice, immediately sued the state of Arizona and Mr. Ducey to try to overthrow this ruling, which basically says you're not allowed to vote if you're an illegal. The clause of the federal government and these NGOs trying to sue Arizona was because they said it is voter suppression to not let illegals vote in an election because they're of a different nationality. So, crazy thing. We know it ain't going to work. But as a matter of fact, we have got a breaking news. Just happened today. Federal ruling on how it's going to go down. The federal court strikes down the provision of Arizona's voter suppression laws. And when you see voter suppression laws, that is left-wing way of saying laws that actually protect the rights of citizens. This is actually a Democracy Docket website. It's a great place to go find tons of information about what's going on with court cases involving elections in every state, what's on the docket, what's coming up. The only problem is this is super opinionated website is definitely left-leaning. And so when they call something voter suppression, it's actually voting rights. And when I'm going to go ahead and read you the article, folks, but take in mind that some left-wing lunatic wrote this article because it's coming from a left-wing source. So just bear with me on this, folks, but this is actually a good piece of information, a good source, if you can get through the minutia of their political bias. But Democracy Now! I'll be checking it out more often, folks, just because it looks like they have tons of information about rulings involving court cases, everything from Trump all the way down to simple rulings over election cases. All right, folks, I got my goggles on, so let me go ahead and get into the good reading of this stuff. So it's not really all that complicated, but this has been appealed, kicked back and forth, and it looks like we finally have a final ruling on it. The immigrants will not be voting in Arizona's election. It says Washington, D.C., in a 109-page opinion issued earlier today, a federal court struck down provisions of 2 Arizona voter suppression laws. Remember, we're the source, folks. It says this positive ruling for voters penned by a Clinton appointee stems from a consolidated lawsuit made up of 8 cases brought to you by pro-voting organizations. And that's actually left-wing NGOs like Act Blue and Get Out the Vote. These are these ballot harvesting folks. It says says made up by 8 cases brought by pro-voting organizations, the left-wingers, challenging provisions of 2 Arizona voter suppression laws, House Bill 2492 and House Bill 2243. In 2022, Arizona Republicans passed a 2 voter suppression laws. Pro-voting organizations immediately sued. That is basically saying in Arizona, Republicans passed 2 trying to secure the vote laws, why the Democrats threw a fit and called it voter suppression. Just the facts, folks. You see how they word this crap? You have to kind of read through that crap in order to actually find out what these cases are actually about. It says under HB 2492, the new voter registering with federal forms must provide proof of citizenship or residency documentation, DPOC. If they want to vote in presidential elections or vote early by mail for any office, voters who register when the DPOC requirement wasn't in effect must provide documentation to vote in presidential elections. Meaning, if you've been voting in elections in the past and you're an illegal, you want to vote in the next upcoming 2024 election, presidential election, you're going to have to bring your passport. You're going to have to bring your ID, some form of American proof of citizenship documentation. The law also empowers the Arizona Attorney General Office to investigate voters with missing citizenship statuses. Sounds great. I don't believe they'll be doing too much of that. It says, lastly, the law requires registrants who use the state voter registration form to list their birthplace information that is not material to a voter's eligibility that not required by federal voter registration form. Basically, they're saying it is a violation to ask these illegal immigrants about where they come from. It doesn't ask most people on the voter registration form where they come from, but if you have no documentation, like voter ID, we get to ask some questions. That's just the facts of the matter, folks. They don't get to cry about it. It says HB 2243 allows for voter purges and requires the cancellation of voter registration where county records have reason to believe voters not citizens if they do not provide satisfactory evidence within 35 days of being notified. So basically what that says is if you're on the voter roll, they're going to take you off in 35 days after they call you or try to contact you. If you don't respond, if they're having some kind of issues, reason to believe that you're not here legally, that you have phony ID, maybe you don't provide enough documentation to be getting to vote in all previous elections, little things like that. But at any rate, it will allow a purge of all these people that are obviously visible on the rolls to not be citizens. So they've obviously been cheating, or should I say, they've obviously been using these let anybody vote tactics in the past, and I'm glad to see Governor Ducey actually get this acted into place. I'm glad to see the courts rule in favor of the Republicans, the voter suppressors, It says, Mi Familia Vota and Vota Latina filed for the first challenges to HB 2492. Those are left-wing leaning groups, arguing that the law would severely burden Arizona voters who registered to vote when there was not enough proof of citizenship requirement and could potentially disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of voters. If you don't have ID, you don't have proper credentials, you don't have the right to vote in this country. If you don't have citizenship, the Democrats aren't going all quietly into the night. They're fighting tooth and nail in every state, even on the down low, to try to change the laws. That's one of the reasons I'm going to start following this democracy docket a little closer, just to see what the Democrats are doing that most Republicans don't know about, don't talk about, don't report on, and don't do much to try to counteract these sinister attempts to have voting rights, as the Democrats would say. The lawsuit challenged HB 2492 and 2243 provisions under the First and 14th Amendment of the Constitution. basically saying that each of the lawsuits argued that these new laws are unfairly and illegally target communities of color, naturalized voters, language minority communities, and Native American voters. Basically, the Mexicans that are coming over the border illegally, that they're planning on being their future voter base and part of their census and everything else that comes along with government funding for the state. It says after a 10-day trial held last year, the court struck down the key provisions of the law. It says prior to the trial, a judge previously blocked the key provisions of the law. In September 2022, HB 2243 was temporarily blocked for 2022 midterm elections. So this was a major victory for voters as the law was scheduled to go into effect at the end of September. Meaning we took one on the chin behind that one, basically, because they put it on hold, which we would have had provided just enough time to purge voter rolls who did not provide DPOC in 35 days window before the 2022 midterm. Meaning, yeah, the Democrats did what they did, and they beat us out on the time crunch. It says, as a result of the victory of ongoing litigation, neither law has been implemented. In 2023, several provisions of the laws were blocked in a summary judgment order. And then we get down to where we're at this point. In addition, as any of the summary judgment order, if a voter fails to check the box attesting that they are citizens, here's the catch, folks, but provide documented proof of citizenship, that voters will be registered to vote. If the voter does not provide documented proof of citizenship, the application can be rejected. So basically, they're allowed to fill out the application, they're allowed to bring their documentation and their proof, but if they don't have it, it has the right to be rejected. I love it, folks. That's what I'm talking about. This is another drop of great news, folks. Judge Cannon admonishes Special Counsel Prosecutor Jack Smith's proposed July 8th trial date in classified documents case. She said it ain't happening that quick. Said there's way too much going on, and your timeline is unrealistic. You're going to have to come up with a better date. So that means that another one of Trump's 4 major cases has just been put on the back burner with the rest of them. I love it. It looks like every single one of these cases against Trump are, if not derailed, being exposed for the people that actually created this crooked witch hunt. And I believe a lot of this stuff this exposure will exonerate Trump, get a lot of this stuff dropped, show the American people just how crooked our justice system is, from the George Soros district attorneys all the way up to the Department of Justice heads, who are doing their best to prevent us from putting 45 back in office to be number 47. That's all I got for you, folks. Everybody have a great day. I just thought you'd like to know about what's going on with the democracy docket, and let you know a little bit more about some other wins Trump's got coming in the loop in the next few days as well. Everybody have a great day. Over and out.